George and Jack called in at the post office as Peter had told them. They knew the post office girl and she smiled at them. I hope it don't bother you to find out for us, began George very politely. But we want to know where someone called Emma Len lives. It's rather important. Can you possibly tell us? It will take me a few minutes, said the girl, taking down a big directory. I will find out for you now. The boys waited patiently. The girl turned over page after page, running her finger down list of names. Yes, she said. There is an Emma Lane, Mrs. Emma Lane, 1 Church Street. That must be the one you want. It's the only Emma Lane there is. The others are Elizabeth and Elsie. Oh, thanks, said George, delighted. 1 Church Street. That's easy to remember. We will go and tell Peter after dinner, said Jack. Then perhaps we could all go and find out exactly who Emmeline is and what she does. So after dinner, they went round to Peter's house, and he and Janet listened with great interest to their bit of news. We will go straight away to Emmeline's and see if we can find out anything at all. She might know Mr. Teaser, for instance, said Peter. Yes, she might tell us something about him and that awful uncle of Jed's. Shall we get the others and all do together? Said George. No, said Peter. It might look a bit peculiar, 7 of us arriving to talk to Emma. They set off to Church Street. Number 1 was a dear little house, neat and pretty, with a teeny, well-kept front garden. The 4 children stopped outside and debated who was to go to the door and what to say. You go, Peter. We did our bit going to the post office, and I wouldn't know what to say to Emmeline, said George. All right, Janet and I will go, said Peter, and he and his sister walked up the little path to the neat green front door. They rang the bell. A small girl opened the door and started at them. She didn't say a word. Could you tell me if Mrs. Emma Lane is in? Asked Peter politely. Who is she? Asked the little girl. I have never heard of any Emma Lane. This was most surprising. Peter was puzzled. But the post office said she lived here, he said. Isn't there an Emma Lane here? What about your mother? My mother's called Mary Margaret Harris, said the small girl, and I'm Lucy Ann Harris. A voice called up the hall passage. Who's that, Lucy? I don't know, called back Lucy. It's just 2 children asking for someone who does not live here. A lady came up the message and her hands covered in flour. She smiled at Peter and Janet. I'm making cakes, she said. Now who is it you want? They want an Emma Lane, said the little girl laughing. But she doesn't live here, does she, mother? Emma Lane? Why? She's your grandmother, you silly child, said the lady. Lucy stared at her mother in surprise. I never knew Granny's name was Emma, she said. I never heard anyone call her Emma Lane. You call her mother, and I call her Granny. Well, she got a name all the same, said the lady. She turned to Peter and Janet. The old lady doesn't live here now. She went away 3 months ago to the seaside, and we have got her house instead. Did you want to speak to her? No, well, yes. Okay, but it doesn't matter, said Peter, feeling rather muddled. Thank you very much. I'm sorry to have bothered you in the middle of making cakes. He and Janet went down the path. What a silly girl not to know her grandmother's name, said Janet. Well, do you know the names of our 2 grannies? Said Peter. We know their surnames, but I don't know the Christian name of either of our grannies. I have never heard anyone call them by name, except that we call them Granny and our parents call them Mother. Do you suppose that little Granny has anything to do with Mr. Teaser's plan? Asked Janet. Peter shook his head. No, she's an old lady, and she must be nice if she lived in that lovely little house. And anyway, she's not here. She's not the Emma Lane we want. And yet he was the only one the post office knew. They walked on in silence. Peter shied. We had better tell Mummy and Daddy, Janet. It's all too muddled and difficult this time. There's not even anything we can do to unravel the muddle. A red pillow, MKX, it's just silly. Daddy was in for tea. Peter broke the news to him while he was spreading slices of bread and butter with honey. Daddy, the Secret 7 are in the middle of something again. Daddy and Mummy both looked up at once. You and your Secret 7, what's up this time? Nothing serious, I hope, said Daddy. We don't know, said Peter, but as 2 of the people in it are supposed to be really bad, and I think they are, then it might be serious. But although we know quite a lot, it's all so silly and muddled and difficult that we can't make head or tail of it. So we thought we would better tell you. Fire ahead, said Daddy. I can hardly wait to hear. You are not to laugh, Daddy, said Janet. The Secret Seven is a proper society, and you know it's already done quite a lot of things. I'm not really laughing, nor is Mummy. Tell us all about it, said Daddy. So Peter and Janet told the tale of their treehouse and Jeff and the kitten and his weak uncle and Mr. Teaser, and all the curious collection of things that Jeff had remembered. Daddy ate his tea all the time. He listened, asking a few questions now and again. Mummy listened too, exclaiming once or twice that she thought the treehouse sounded very dangerous, as the tale came to an end. It certainly wants looking into, said Daddy. But if you want my opinion, I think that boy Jeff has made most of it up. He's feeling miserable because his mother has gone into hospital. He doesn't like his uncle and aunt. He got into trouble with them and ran away. And we were very kind to him, so he's made up a nice little tale. Oh no, Daddy, Janet said at once. He didn't make it up. He really didn't. And the kitten was hurt. Somebody had kicked it. Well, look here. Go and fetch that boy Jeff and bring him here to me, said Daddy. If there's anything in his story, I'll soon find out, and if there is any funny business going on, we will find that out too. He can tell us the address of his uncle, and the police can go and see if there's anything in his tale. He doesn't want the police to be told, said Peter. Of course he doesn't, if he's made up the tale, said Daddy. Now you go and fetch him. Tell him I shan't bite his head off. As for all the things he says he remembers hearing when he was half asleep, well, I think he dreamed them. Don't look so absurd, both of you. When you get a bit older, you will learn not to believe all the tales people tell you. But Daddy, he was speaking the truth. I am sure he was, said Janet almost in tears. Right, then we will certainly do something to help him. Go and get him now. I will finish what I am working on and be ready as soon as you get back. Peter and Janet set off rather gloomily to the tree house. It was very, very damping to have Daddy and Mummy so certain that Jeff was a fraud. They didn't think he was. Well, now Jeff would have to go with them and tell Daddy everything. He would probably be so scared that he wouldn't say a word. I hope Jeff will come back with us, said Peter, suddenly thinking that it might be very, very difficult to get him to climb down the tree if he didn't want to. They said no more till they got to the tree. Peter called up, Jeff, come on down. We have got something to tell you. Nobody answered. Peter called again, Jeff, it's me, Peter. Come on down. There's nobody here but me and Janet. It's important. There was no reply. But wait. Yes, there was. A teeny little mew sounded from up above. The kitten. The kitten's there, said Peter. So Jeff must be there too. I wonder if he's all right. I'll go up and see. Up he went and climbed up onto the platform, which was still strewn with cushions. The kitten ran to him mewing. There wasn't a sign of Jeff. Peter called again and peered upwards, thinking the boy might have climbed higher. No, he wasn't there either. Then he caught sight of a piece of paper stuck into a crevice of the tree trunk. Peter took it and read it. They have found me, said the note. They say they will come up and throw the kitten down the tree if I don't climb down to them. They would do. They take care of the kitten, and thanks for everything, Jeff. Peter slithered down the tree so quickly that he grazed his hands and knees. He held out the paper to Janet. Look at that. They have found him. They must have come back again, guessing he might be up here, with Scamper barking around like that. Poor Jeff. Janet looked upset and alarmed. Oh dear, now what are we to do? We don't even know where Jeff lives. We can't find out anything or help him. Oh look, that poor little kitten is coming down the tree all by itself. Peter lifted it down. It mewed. We will look after you, all right? He said. Where has your master gone to? That's what we would like to know. Peter and Janet went home. The kitten cuddled against Peter. Daddy was waiting for them. Well, where's the boy, Jeff? Daddy said. He's gone, said Peter and showed his father the note. You won't hear of him again, said Daddy. I tell you, it was just a made-up tale. Forget it. Ask your mother if you can keep the kitten. Though we don't really want another cat, I don't think much of the boy deserting the kitten like that. He didn't, Daddy, said Janet, trying not to cry. He had to leave it. Those men were cruel. Daddy went back to his work. Peter and Janet looked at one another. Daddy was so often right about things. Perhaps he was right about this too. Perhaps Jeff had been a fraud and made up a tale to tell them.